Good morning. Welcome to Let's Get Growing Facebook Live. We're in a different garden this morning. Our other garden. You'll be seeing a bit more of it come springtime. It's different soil, different conditions, so it's going to be an interesting little project. We're going to plant a tree today, but we planted a tree a couple of weeks ago, but we didn't have the situation that we have with this tree. So this is a Walker's Weeping Pea Shrub, or a variety of Weeping Carigana with a very finely cut leaf, ferny textured head. It's a really cool version of this, the Weeping Pea Shrub. It's been around for a long time, but it is always available, but quite uncommon. So it's one I've always liked. So we're planting one in the new garden here. But the problem is, and this problem can happen with a lot of standard trees, and by standard I mean to get a weeping pea shrub like this on a stem, bits of this top weeping part are grafted to a stem. And the stem is, of course, just regular Carigana, which has a tendency to sucker. And this is something you really need to look out for when you're buying standard trees that are done on a stem, like a standard lilac, standard hydrangeas, standard pea shrubs, anything standard you want of this. You need to watch out for suckers coming from the root. You'll see this on big trees too. Sometimes serviceberry trees, sometimes crab apples, lindens can be bad for it. Really, any tree that you get in a nursery these days is grafted onto a different rootstock. That's done for ease of propagation mostly. In the case of fruit trees are grafted onto different rootstocks to make the trees dwarf, semi-dwarf, or standard tree. But with ornamental trees like this, it's done so you get like a funky weeping head on a stem. Otherwise, this shrub would lay on the ground as a carpet, which is pretty cool too, maybe. But anyway, so we're going to get down here. We're going to look at the roots. This was, I probably wouldn't have bought this one had it not been on clearance at the end of the year and really cheap, and the last one. But you can see here we've got some suckers. They're coming from the roots of the regular stemmed Carigana. Now, what people are usually inclined to do is to take one of these stems and go, I don't want these here, and just cut them. That's a very temporary fix, and it actually causes more of a problem, because wherever that cut was made, that's going to branch 3 or 4 times and give us a bigger root ball of suckers. So this is a great time to look at the tree and see that we've got a great root ball here, but what we're going to need to do, we're going to need to get rid of these suckers. And the best way to do it is to get right down in there. A little bit of frost on the soil this morning, but not much. It's late November, but the way our season's been, it's still time to plant trees. We're going to get right down into the root ball here. And we're going to see if we can find where these suckers are starting from. Nice thing about this time of the year, we can pretty much bare root this tree if we have to, and it won't hurt the tree. It's completely dormant, and nothing to worry about. So we're going to keep digging down. Going to see if we can find where those suckers are coming from. Get right in there. You can actually see that this was planted a bit too deeply when they moved it into the pot out of the field. So we need to get down a bit anyway, get down to the root flare. So we got to remove a bunch of this top soil anyway. But as we get down, you can sort of see and start to see where these suckers are attached. And what we really want to do is get them as close to the trunk as possible. See, that's almost a whole growth unto itself there. If we can get these off, really close without leaving any buds on these stem pieces, then they likely won't come back. So I'm getting right in there. Get this third one. It's all seems to be attached almost to the same area. Yep, look at that. It's all sort of attached to the same piece of root that came off that tree there. I'm going to get right in. A little more cutting down and I think we'll have it. Okay, we're actually detached from the tree now. And that's just a growth unto itself there. So I'm going to go a little further in and just see if we can clean off a little bit of that root. That is going to give us a problem later on. All right. So see, there was even one that traveled out there. That might have been a seedling, perhaps even. So we've got rid of that sucker. We've got rid of that little cluster of suckers. I think we've got it out. There was some root growing off it, but I think we've got it. Just want to make sure that we're not attached to that stem anymore. I think we're going to be all right. Yeah, I think we've got it off nice and smooth here now. We're just right down to the main rootstock of the tree, the main trunk. We did have to get rid of a couple of roots, but there's lots of other roots there. I've already prepared my hole because I haven't dug in this garden much, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. But it's a good, beautiful, loamy clay. It's going to be a treat to build a garden on this soil. Take a touch more soil out. Get our tree. Might as well make sure we've got it. Roots well loosened. You helping today, Lupin? All right, now let's of course make sure we got the best foot forward here. What do we think? No, I think there. I think that's the spot. Okay, can you get out of the hole now? Can you get out of there? All right, thank you. Get your feet out of the way. There we go. Top root here, right here. Root flare, you can see it a little bit, right at soil level. Tree looks good. Always backfilling with existing soil. You don't amend. If you need to at this stage, you can put some water in there, let it soak in, then backfill it some more. You can put that soil that came out of the pot just back in on top. It's not going to hurt. Firm it in again. And away we go. So when you're shopping for these trees, really, really important, look at what's going on in the roots. See if you've got root suckers to deal with. And if you do, take care of them early. Nothing worse. And nothing worse for your tree to have a big ball of shoots continually coming up at the base. Because what happens with those shoots is they want to be the leader. They want to be in charge of where all the nutrients go. And if they're coming up from the roots right into those shoots, they will come up at the expense of the cultivar you want on top. Now, just while we're here talking about it, Laura can queue up any questions, but sometimes on these standard trees, remember this whole stem and then this little weeping part on top are two different plants. Occasionally, you will get a shoot that doesn't come up from the base, but comes up off the trunk. Any shoots you see coming off the trunk, remove them immediately. Keep an eye into the heads of weeping ornamentals, because sometimes just from below where they're grafted, a new shoot will grow. And you'll know it's there because it's going to grow and it's going to go straight up through the tree. So if you ever see those upright shoots coming on your weeping mulberries, weeping caraganas, not the hydrangeas so much, but any weeping trees especially, if you see an upright shoot come, weeping cherries, weeping crabs, they all have a tendency for this to happen. Go back to where that upright growing shoot is attached to the stem and remove it as smoothly as possible. Even if you had to cut into the bark a little bit, you're not going to hurt it, and you're going to get rid of any little buds that are there. If you just trim it off, leaving any sort of stump, you're going to get regrowth on that, and that saps energy away from the weeping plant. So keep an eye open for that. Hey, if you've got some trees and shrubs to get in the ground, there is still time. You saw how easy that was to dig. The ground is nowhere near frozen. Get them in the ground, water them in. They'll sit there waiting and be ready for spring.
So Doug wants to know if that method is only good pre-planting.
No, you know what? If you've got an established plant that's been in for a few years, you know what? Dig in. Try to get in there. You know, get your pruning saw, get a reciprocating saw, dig down, and get rid of as many of those stems as low as you can to the rootstock. You know, trees are savable, especially if this is a fairly young tree. You know, once you get to a point, though, there'll be such a mass there, you'll never get rid of them. But yeah, absolutely, Doug. If you've seen them growing on an established tree that's not too big, do some investigation. This is a great time to do it right now, even, because the trees are dormant. They're not going to know what hit them. They're not going to care. Go ahead and check them out and get it done.
So Sophie's asking about, what about a tree guard and stake? Rabbits.
You know what? Yeah, for sure. Planting late, and I know Sophie's in a really wooded area, a lot of wildlife around. Putting the plastic tree guards on, now is a good time to do it because they're kind of frozen up. You don't want to have those on too early because condensation builds up and then it keeps the trunks wet and then you get frost cracks and things in the trunks. But now that we are cold enough, probably, you know, you can put those guards on. If you use the plastic guards, if you're using you know, chicken wire cages, we're using the old-fashioned method of dogs. You know, he's going to be our rabbit control here. We actually don't have many rabbits here. We have squirrels, but they don't bother that kind of stuff. So
He's digging up their walnuts.
I see he's digging up the walnuts that the squirrels. We do have walnut trees around here, so we have a plethora of walnuts being buried in the garden. So, but yeah, you can certainly put on your, you know, rabbit protection now, your scoot, and whatever other kind of liquid deterrent you want to spray on. Yeah, for sure you can do that.
And your favorite topic, Paula has several suckers coming up all over her yard from an Ohio buckeye. So annoying. Any suggestions?
Well, now that'll happen. Unfortunately, often the trees that are strong enough and willing to take being grafted onto can't have those wandering roots. You'll see it with service berries, you'll see it with buckeyes. Easiest thing, go down, dig a little bit, and cut them out from the roots. You're probably going to get them to come back. Some trees, that's just their natural growth habit, so it's hard to stop that. If they're in the grass, continually just mowing. But, you know, dig a little bit of a hole, find out where the root is, take out that root with the suckering buds on it, and that might help keep that under control.
All right. That's it.
All right, that's it for questions today. Thanks for tuning in. If you're thinking about coming with us on one of our trips this year, don't delay. We've got a wonderful 9-day trip in May to Chelsea that's got space on it. It's going to be a fantastic trip. We've added lots more gardens. We're hoping, fingers crossed, we can get to Highgrove, King Charles Garden, but they don't let us know until the new year about when he's going to be at home. We don't get to go when he's at home, obviously. So we're working on that, but we've got some other fantastic gardens lined up for that trip. Also, if the Highlands of Scotland are calling your name, we have 6 spots left on that trip. It has been extremely popular. We've got some great places to see. Highlands of Scotland is a wonderful place to visit. So if you're thinking about that one, email Marjorie at masonhousegardens.com and you know, get your name on the list, because they're going to sell out fast, especially Scotland. Like I say, 6 spots left for Scotland. We're about maybe 40% full for Chelsea, but it's in May, so it's coming up just around the corner. Great Christmas presents. Laura's freezing. We're going to cut off now. We'll see you next week on Let's Get Growing Facebook.